You will know it from these first few pages. This book may stir emotional response. Please realize that this book is meant to trigger you and is not meant to be just a mental exercise. If you feel emotions being stirred, please do your best to allow these emotions direct expression as any sounds they want to make. Please do not act in response to what is being triggered. Just be present with your emotions. The unconditional love of the Spirit for everything that exists has been understood on earth for quite some time. This, in fact, has been called divine love. Now there is need for another understanding on earth, that of divine will. Most people on earth have made a separation between their spirit and their will. They have believed their own will was not acceptable, and that to love in the way that God loves, they must eliminate their own feelings and opinions and do what they have imagined to be the will of God. And understanding is needed here. The will of God is not in opposition to the will of the individual. Because of the separation that has been made in the consciousness of so many, the will has been excluded for a long time from participating in the evolvement of the spirit. A definite lag or gap exists on earth between the level of evolvement of the individual spirit, often referred to as the soul, and the evolvement of the individual will. It is now time for each spirit to recognize, accept, and evolve this other part of the self. Each spirit is a part of God's spirit, and each will is a part of God's will. Each person must take responsibility for his or her complete being, and not for only a part of it. The will expresses itself as feelings, emotions, receptivity, intuition, and desire. Each spirit must fully accept its own will and help it evolve in a loving way that is not punitive, judgmental, or condescending. When the individual will feels that it truly has the loving acceptance of the spirit, it will be able to come into alignment with the spirit and with the divine will. God has given each individual a part of his divine consciousness with which to have awareness and a part of his divine will to feel what this awareness is experiencing. Everyone now wishing to remain on earth must accept the whole being and discontinue denial of the part of the self that feels what the spirit is experiencing. Instead of denying your own will in favor of someone else, or in favor of what you have believed to be the divine will, it is necessary now to realize that denial of the individual will has been a misunderstanding that has resulted in a split in the consciousness of individuals on earth. The individual will is not meant to be separate from the divine will, any more than the individual spirit is meant to be separate from the divine consciousness. It is important to realize this thoroughly and profoundly. I received these words directly from God. In the beginning, I could not, like so many others on earth, believe it was actually possible to hear directly from God. I knew, though, that many psychics had been accustomed to hearing from spirit guides. I found this to be very interesting, and I began to listen and learn from guides who had identified themselves to me as the Ancient Ones. As this went on, I was encouraged to try to hear directly from God. When I first heard him, I was overcome with feelings of his exquisite love. I had been living without conscious awareness of this connection for so long that I hadn't realized how much I had been missing God and how much I was missing a strong feeling of his presence on earth. God wants it to be known that he is open and willing to communicate directly with all spirits on earth who can open to receive him. When you are truly open and receptive to his loving light, you can begin to experience a direct communication. As you become more attuned, anything you need to know is then available because of the connection we all have with God. God has given me the information in this book, and although he refers to himself as God in these first paragraphs, now that this has been stated, he is going to refer to himself as my light or my loving light, and occasionally as I in the rest of the text. The will has long been misunderstood because the spirit was seen to be the essence of the body, But the understanding is this: spirit inspires, will responds, and together they experience in the body. Body is the manifestation of both spirit and will. In order for unconditional love to manifest in the body, spirit and will must balance in the heart. To find this balance, you will need to open the consciousness of your spirit and the receptivity of your will to receive my loving light. My light is polarized in order to experience. This polarization has been misunderstood as splits in which the will was seen as disconnected from and not a useful part of spirit, and has even been judged to be in opposition to the spirit. However, the spirit and the will are the expanding polarities of oneness. Polarities need to be recognized as evolving expansions of a connected whole. Creation exists because it has both the spiritual essence that powers it and the magnetic energy that can open space to receive it. The same is true within each individual. The spirit and the will are not meant to be separate from one another in any individual any more than my spirit is meant to be separate from my will. In each person, the spirit and the will are meant to be unconditionally connected to each other. Each individual spirit is meant to be connected to my spirit, and each will connected to my will, and so all is one. The understanding needed next is, when anything is denied and not accepted by the individual to whom it belongs, that denied part of the individual has been placed outside of his or her love. In placing something outside of love, you have been feeding another reality that has troubled Earth for a long time. Because of its negative polarity, most people have equated the will with evil and with darkness. Everything negative has been assumed to be the cause of the trouble on Earth. You need to realize that this is not true. Darkness and negativity need to be understood and accepted as the part of creation that can make a place for my light by opening the space to receive it. Until it opens space to attract and receive light, the will appears to be darkness. When the will is not allowed to express, it cannot vibrate. It is the will's vibration that opens space. Now, many people have thought they were evolving into unconditional love on Earth, but they have forgotten that they must accept all of themselves first. There is no way around it. If you do not totally accept yourself first, you cannot totally open to anyone or anything else. Many have thought that by allowing their will to express only positive feelings, they would attract only loving light. But what they have attracted is the conditional love that results from denial. Because the will has been so misunderstood, the need to allow the will to evolve is great right now on Earth. To evolve it, you must first accept it. You cannot beat it into the appropriate shape. It must be accepted as it is now in order to evolve. Denial of unlovingness will not clear it. You cannot just mentally insist that you are all loving. You must really be there. All levels of your being must really be there. Where your will has not been allowed to open and receive loving light, you have denial. Your denials are yours to heal. In healing your will, you must allow it to tell you how upset it has become. In hearing from your will unconditionally, you have taken the step of accepting it, wherever it is. Denial does not allow loving light in. Controlling and imposing limits and conditions on your will means you do not have unconditional acceptance for it. Where you do not have acceptance for it, you are not loving it. Where you are not loving it, you are denying it. When you deny parts of yourself, you are not accepting all of yourself, and so you do not have all of yourself present with you. If you do not have all of yourself present with you in loving acceptance, you are not loving yourself unconditionally. You cannot love anyone or anything else unconditionally if you do not have all of yourself with which to love them. You must accept all of yourself unconditionally by bringing all parts of yourself within loving acceptance and allowing them to evolve. When a person is denying parts of the self, that person will be denying others too. No one who wants to continue on the path of self-denial or of denying others, a path of imbalance, in other words, will be able to remain on earth. It is not a loving, nourishing, life-giving policy to be living in a state of imbalance. But in saying this, a threat is not intended. Major spiritual misunderstandings have been in place from the very beginning and have beleaguered Earth from the beginning. This information is meant to help you understand how to release yourself from the path of strife, struggle, and suffering that denial has brought to Earth. Earth has been imbalanced to the point of feeling her life is threatened and is not going to tolerate any more imbalance. The Earth herself is going to clear out of herself and off of herself everything that has not been loving toward her. As she is doing this, all those who want to remain on Earth must also clear out of themselves everything that has not been loving. The understandings you need now are about how to help and allow your own will to evolve. In short, allow your will to express everything you feel and do not stop until you are really finished. The problem with the free expression of the will on Earth right now is that it has been denied for so long that its attempts to express itself have looked out of balance, and they often have been. For this reason, let your will release in a private place, as the will naturally would with sounds, especially at first. The emotional release my light is talking about is direct emotional expression in sounds. So, be careful not to hurt yourself or anyone else, and do not go forward and act out on a wave of emotions. In hearing this book and trying out these understandings, it is important not to impose this on others who do not want it. For just as it is not spiritual balance to deny yourself in favor of others, it is also not spiritual balance to deny others in favor of yourself. It is also not necessary to believe that you must have teachers or intermediaries to help you find the healing you need. While others can have help to offer, you are the one who knows and can know yourself best. Take responsibility for yourself and what you need to do to heal your imbalances. While emotional release has been a long neglected part of this healing process, understanding must also enter in where denial was. Acceptance must take the place of non-acceptance, and openness must come where you were closed. Your will has a progression that can help you if you can allow it to unfold. You can also ask my loving light to help you. Denial does not allow the release back out of what has been taken in. When you take in and do not release back out, your receptive centers get filled up and can no longer receive clearly, and sooner or later, not at all. Blocking the free expression of the will has not been allowing the release back out of what the will has taken in. This makes it very difficult to exercise discernment and is one of the main reasons that most people on Earth do not, at present, have direct experience of my presence. Much of what has shut down evolution of consciousness on Earth is fear, held in common by many, that free expression will result in harm to others, societal chaos, or both. This fear is accompanied by another fear that so many who have claimed divine authority have done harmful things. And many who have claimed to hear divine impulses have done the bidding of voices that have told them to do harmful things. You can be sure that these claims of divine guidance are not my loving light if they have influenced people to do harmful things. One of the empowering factors in these understandings is that you can release yourself intentionally by allowing free expression. This then eliminates the need for any harmful situation to come to you from outer reality. This is an understanding that is very necessary now on Earth. People have thought that karma brings a balance of payments, but karma is not that simplistic. Karma is meant to bring you into balance, this is true, but not by bringing one experience as payment for another in the past. Karma brings balance by attracting the experiences you need in order to learn what you do not yet know. Without will, the spirit has no selection process. Your will is your individual magnetic energy field and draws the experiences you are going to have. If you hold something in your will that is denied and disconnected from your conscious awareness by not being accepted and allowed free movement or free expression, You will then draw a reflection of this to yourself. Unpleasantness is not sent by my loving light as punishment for misdeeds. Unpleasantness is only drawn in response to what has been denied or judged against. The denial is what gives the experience its unpleasant qualities. The energy locked up in denial does not want to be held outside of the nourishment of loving light. In coming to you, drawn by the denial, unpleasant experiences have not come to punish. They have come to draw your attention to the denials. They are drawn to you in an attempt to release the energy that is being held there outside of your loving acceptance. By allowing yourself to be easily triggered into releasing your held denials, the intensity of these reflections can lessen until you no longer need to draw to yourself any unpleasantness. Try it before you judge it. Some of you can help each other by doing group release work if you have an agreement with one another about what is happening there. By allowing yourselves to express your boundaries and draw definite guidelines according to what you feel is necessary, you may be able to helpfully reenact traumatic experiences in order to trigger yourself to release them. Because many people have received harm at the hands of others and have not yet released or expressed the pain of this, some may want or need the help of being triggered by others acting as though they're going to do harm. If you try this approach, only do what is needed to trigger the emotional release that will relieve the person. Do not cause additional pain. I also want to say that you can still take the path of letting experience come to you from without and balance yourself in that way. If you want to, in fact, you can even call for the karmic experience as necessary so that you can be triggered to release your own denial. Pleasant experiences will still happen. My light is just addressing unpleasant ones right now. As you lessen and eliminate denial, you can create even more pleasant experiences and better ones. By shifting the power from a state of externalized disconnection to internalized conscious acceptance, you can always know what is going to happen. You might not have complete detail because you might have the kind of will that likes surprises, but you will know it will be pleasant. This can give great peace to everyone. My light has been compelled to impart right use of will to Earth at this time because the situation there has become very perilous. People on Earth, and even animals, because of being confined and controlled, have not been expressing freely enough to adequately vibrate their space and hold it open for themselves. My created beings on Earth have been experiencing their reality as seeming to close in on them, and their power as seeming to be insufficient to meet the situation facing Earth now. Please realize it does not have to be this way. The lost light of misunderstandings and denial of the will have made it this way. If you want to be able to live on Earth, you must now start reversing the situation within yourself. It is not going to be easy at first, but it will become easier the longer you work on it. My guidance is to preserve the balance points that provide the most freedom for everyone without eclipsing anyone, and are necessary to maintain spirits and the creation in which they live. Earlier, it was apparent to me that many spirits could not accept my guidance because they did not have enough experience to understand why these balance points were so important. I have seen that the spirits on Earth now have had enough experience to be able to accept, understand, and respect these balance points. And so, I want to make it clear that I am decisive on several points where I was open to allowing spirits to transgress earlier. These decisions are decrees. All spirits wishing to remain on Earth must recognize me and come to me for loving light. No spirit can continue to deny me and take my light underhandedly from others. Now, in physical body, the reality of this is one thing and one thing only. No one can survive anymore in my creation unless they acknowledge me and accept my loving light openly in some form. I am flexible here. I have many ways to come to a spirit. I can adjust myself infinitely, but I will no longer tolerate complete denial of me any place in my creation. This means that no spirits can survive what is happening now, any place in my creation, unless they open to directly receive my loving light. You must not think you are not involved if you accept me as God and worship me. You must find your denials, bring them within your love, and find them acceptable to me. I am not being unloving or unmerciful here. If I am unlimited, and I am I can no longer tolerate spirits who want to limit me to the extent of being in my creation and refusing to allow me to be there with them. I have said this to give you the opportunity to reverse your own denials. If you feel a need to critique this message or attack me for what is not being said here, this is your pathway into the emotions you need to express in order to find out how you really feel about me. I have many understandings to give on why I have made these decrees, but they are not appropriate to give right now. Trust that they will be given at the right time. I have also made another decree. I have no further tolerance for any spirits giving pain to others who have not overtly agreed to receive it. There has been such a thing as overriding of free will in the experience of my created spirits. I have let this go on only long enough for the spirits to see why the will is so necessary. Now, I have discerned that there has been enough experience. There is no longer any power to override another's will, period. Your own will can only be overridden by your own denials. This has to be understood. Free will between people means that you have the freedom to do whatever you want, but you are not to encroach on another or try to make anyone else function within your own limits. You only have the power to make them take it away from you or to take yourself away from them. There is no power anymore to stop anyone from experiencing themselves in the way they want to experience themselves. If you go against this, you are going against me. There is still some time on earth for spirits to show my loving light, whether it is their intention to align with me or not. I have heard the cries of the spirits who cannot handle any more pain, control, and unlovingness. I am offering the understandings needed for my spirits to release themselves from the path of struggle, strife, and suffering. Because there are still many who do not believe that this is my loving light talking here, they're going to have to learn from the experiences they create for themselves. I'm going to put them in their right place. If you do not want to go with them, you need to find and recover your own lost will and lost light involvement in this. In accepting these understandings, you only need to try them out, stop judging them, and allow them to be in process. You will find that they work for you and everyone else who is ready to try them. Some on earth have not yet had enough experience to try them, so I am reminding you again not to try to force these ideas on anyone. Just take them in if they are for you. In studying this book, connect to the spirit of the message and do not pass judgment on what has been left out. If there seems to be a gap that you cannot readily fill in with your logical, sequential thinking, you need to remain open and trust that it will be given to you when you have the readiness to receive it. Many things that can be available to you through direct communication with my loving light have to be withheld from the public domain until the general population has more open acceptance. This is necessary also in order to protect and ensure that those of you who choose to practice these teachings are not overloaded, since, at present, the mind is much more capable of quickly receiving these understandings than is the will. If you now temporarily stop the mental acquisition of this writing and give it time to sink into your feelings, you are going to have a response. If you do not have a response, then you have either lost your will or you are not connecting to it. Some people have disconnected so much that they actually have to search out and find their missing will. It is not impossible to do this. You can start by calling for it, if it's not present with you, and draw it back to you. Acceptance is the key once again. You must make a place for your will. If you're responding, let it happen and do not assume you have all the understandings needed. Allow your response and seek more understandings. I now invite you to listen, when you're ready, to the rest of this book. Right use of will. The unconditional love of the Spirit is understood by many people on earth at present. There is another energy, though, that is also part of the divine creation, which has not yet been fully understood, the divine will. The will expresses as feelings. Spirit and will are partners in the body and must find their balance in the heart. If there is any disease or aging of the body, spirit and will are at odds in some way. When there is balance in the heart between the spirit and the will, body manifests this internal balance as health, agelessness, and vitality, and the physical level of existence is no longer experienced as cut off from other levels of existence. Everyone on earth today has undermined the will in some way. This undermining of the will is equal to lost unconditional love. Then, for anyone who is judging against parts of the self is not truly loving unconditionally. The will in many people is now seeking to find alignment. Many people on earth can learn the balance of spirit and will in their heart, and are, in fact, already moving in this direction. It could be easily judged then that the teaching of right use of will is not essential, and that this is just going to happen naturally. However, help with the understanding of this process is actually necessary, and some people want this help so that they can move faster. Others, who see little need to speed things up, can make the choice to find this alignment later. What may not seem necessary to you now may become relevant at any moment. This teaching is intended to be a guide for those who wish to speed up the process of finding the necessary balance between spirit and will in the heart. The information given here may not all be new information to you, but it will outline the steps necessary to heal the disconnections and lack of self-acceptance so that balance with the spirit can be willingly found. It can also enable you to see where you are on this path and can help you to go further. Clearing illness and habits. To begin with, illness can be cleared by learning to listen to and accept what body is trying to say to you when you are ill. Understanding these messages, without subjugating your body to preformed opinions, gives your body a most needed feeling of acceptance in place of the feeling that it is you dominating and controlling your body, or that your body is against you and that you must defeat or banish illness as though it is some kind of sabotage by your body. Illness is not sabotage. It is the body's statement that it is unable to continue holding blockages to my loving light and also maintain health. Messages from your body can take many forms. Your body may want and need many different things. Attuning to and accepting these messages can help you to regain the balance that enables illness to disappear and health to prevail. This statement, however, does not mean that you need to heal everything without whatever help you feel you need, that you must go the entire way with the first illness that appears, or blame yourself if this interaction with your body is more than you feel able to master right away. Unconditional acceptance and love means accepting whatever state of imbalance you have with your body, and understanding it as the reflection you need in order to notice and heal your imbalances, without judgment about how spiritually evolved you are or are not. Being conscientious and doing what you can each time will carry you toward balance. A way to work with healing in this way is to give the disease your full attention by breathing into and bringing your consciousness into the distress, rather than blocking it, ignoring it, or masking it with medication. See if you can feel what is going on in this distress. Ask your body what it needs to restore balance. You can encourage your body to communicate by letting it know that you have acceptance for its pain. You can apologize to your body for overriding and ignoring it. Becoming aware of beliefs you have been holding about your body and what it needs, and releasing them is another helpful part of any shifts you make in the way you have been treating your body. When you receive information from your body, do what is asked and see the results. If complete healing is not reached, you can repeat this process until healing is reached. This practice can evolve your ability to listen to your body and to bring it the healing it needs. When treatment seeks to cure by suppressing symptoms, balance is not truly restored. The practice of suppressing symptoms is not the way body heals itself. The practice of ignoring how body feels or taking drugs for pain can often obscure early symptoms so that the person is not aware of the problem until it is acute and advanced. These denials can allow the imbalances that produce disease to go unnoticed until the symptoms have had to demand attention by becoming intense. Then, healing can take a tremendous amount of time, energy, concentration, dedication, and also money. It is really much easier to pay attention to body and deal with imbalances in the beginning stages than to wait until your body is seriously challenged. If balance can be restored while symptoms are still at subtle levels, disease may not need to appear. Modern science has been spending a lot of time and money searching for the cure for diseases, but has not usually identified the cause as internal, spiritual imbalance. Illness can provide opportunities for clearance of more than just physical symptoms. The need for this sort of clearance always gives warnings in some way. You can help yourself by paying attention to how you feel about having to interrupt what you have been doing in order to respond to warning signals. Most people, though, have had a habit of ignoring such warnings and also of suppressing symptoms until the body is holding so much that symptoms are only the tip of the iceberg of undermined will. Lack of loving acceptance for parts of the self originates every imbalance that manifests in the body. When these imbalances become more than the body can handle, physical problems arise. This is when pathogens can multiply into illness. Denial creates energy blockages, and blockages create stagnation, which can be hospitable to disease organisms. These blockages are places where mind-loving light is not very present or not present at all. Disease organisms have always been present as physical manifestations of denial. To find full healing, you need to find the cause, not only in your physical body, but also in your consciousness or lack of it. Symptoms can help you find their cause. If you want to receive and understand their messages in order to find full healing, symptoms should not be routinely relieved or suppressed. Treatments that only address symptoms do not bring a full healing. However, this does not mean that symptoms should never be treated. Treating symptoms while also seeking the cause is different from suppressing them so that you can ignore them and go on as you were before. When imbalances manifest as physical problems, there are many feelings involved that need exploration. All of these feelings need unconditional acceptance. However, intellectualizing feelings by only talking about them is not the way full healing is going to take place. The more you attune to and express from will and body in the ways they want and need to express, the more you will be able to clear before illness or unpleasant experiences manifest as an attempt to bring clearing. Even though some diseases indicate drastic imbalance, the idea that certain diseases are fatal has been accepted by many only because the way of treating them has been to deny the message of the body and treat body like it is something to manipulate. Instead of seeking to restore the balance, this approach has attempted to suppress all symptoms. Then, body is rendered incapable of healing. Body has its own free will to decide if it can heal now or not. No person needs to die from illness if body has another option that is real for it. If you are seriously trying to align, body will not die unless it needs the option of rebirth for full healing. Many people have felt guilty if they have begun to think that they have caused their own disease. It is important to have self-acceptance for whatever form your lessons take and compassion for yourself for wherever you are on your path and for whatever you are able to evolve. Love and compassion coming in the place of old misunderstandings can bring healing. No matter how far you are able to progress toward full healing, continuing to seek the cause and working with your problems is a healing path. When there is the balance needed for health, an individual's energy is freed to create something other than disease. Health is an offering to spirits who can understand the way to live in the physical plane on earth. The other abilities of right use of will are based on a foundation of good health because a body blocked by imbalance cannot express the capabilities inherent in balance. Health can be the permanent state of affairs when spirit and will balance unconditionally in the heart. The practice of right use of will may at first, however, bring forward illness because the suppressed will is bound to have suppressed symptoms which body has had to hold. If imbalance is not rectified, illness is, quote, healed, unquote, only temporarily. The fear with which society has surrounded illness and death is a conditioning in need of strong attention. So many people have come to feel that illness is inevitable and that all must die of something, that the energy field emanated by these deep-seated beliefs has actually been perpetuating itself through the acceptance of it as inevitable. Even though health is the way, it has not been the way for such a very long time on earth that it has happened as though no one any longer still believes that this really is the way. More immediate than regaining health for some people is the need to examine habits that are running the body down. Another way to look at this is to make a choice between living as you are for a short time and living long if you are willing to grow and make the changes necessary for good health. Once again, this is a matter of personal choice. Right use of will offers the opportunity of enjoying life to its fullest. This is what many people say they are doing when they indulge in habits. Habits appeal to memories of having felt good, but habits actually set the body up for physical death. Habits are a problem because they override the sensitive response of a body to a particular situation, and instead impose a ritualized behavior that a person has used in the past, whether it calls for the same response or not. Response from habit precludes response that is attuned to the particular situation. Habits are to the body what judgments are to the awareness. Both have a rigidity. Habitual behavior is a judgment that what was called for once is also called for now, and therefore, no growth or change has taken place. In the same way that judgments stop and control the evolution of the consciousness, habits stop and control the evolution of the body. Just as all levels of the being are run down by rigidity that suppresses the vibration, body is run down by the rigidity of habit patterns that lack sensitivity to its changing needs. The reasons for the habit need to be found and then accepted and understood, not condemned and disciplined away. The body and the body's actions remain imbalanced unless the person is willing to respond to the true needs of the moment, rather than taking a habit learned in the past and projecting it onto the present because it seems to apply. All habits need attention, for many, such as ways of breathing, making love, eating by the clock, reacting to situations without fully perceiving them first, and also habitual verbal responses can be easily overlooked. Encouraging the self is more healing than forcing the self, holding the self back, or suppressing the self. Dictatorship in habits is another form of suppression. Habits can only really be released when the person is ready to see why the habit is there. All of the emotions and beliefs around the habit need to be accepted and allowed to express so that they can participate in the person's spectrum of awareness. Body also needs to express its feelings about habits. If habits have been suppressing this communication, but intent is to end the habit of overriding parts of the self, letting habits lapse to find out what has been suppressed can be helpful. The feelings underneath habits are often feelings that are being denied by the person who is using habits in place of true response. Then there is also present a habit of avoiding feelings. In this case, the person needs to look at the habit of avoiding feelings and decide if this is what he or she wants to continue doing or not. If all the feelings are allowed total acceptance and expression, they can begin to tell the person what is needed in place of the habit patterns. All of the habits and appetites that people have thought they enjoyed have been judged against by various spiritual belief systems as harmful to spiritual development. Lists of things to avoid have included such things as alcohol, sugar, red meat or any animal products, drugs, caffeine, marijuana, tobacco, sexual enjoyment, and extremes of any kind. An understanding needed here is that the problem has not been these things themselves, so much as the habit patterns and extremes of imbalance that have been so often associated with them. Substances have been thought to be causal, but it is consciousness that is causal, and nothing else. For example, eating meat, and especially red meat, has long been thought to make people too dense to receive spiritual illumination, and yet it is not causal here. The desire and need to eat meat has accompanied the consciousness needing to eat it. As loss of vibratory rate increased on Earth, density of the physical plane increased. Nourishment must match the vibratory rate of the consciousness taking it in. In not understanding what was causal here, many judgments have been made, and many have tried to break out of habits, giving up meat, for example, by using discipline and control. This method only causes the habit pattern to change its form. Breaking out of habits may look like a stumbling block to many, but realizing the goal and seeing habits for what they are is going to allow the process through which they can drop away. The immediate goal is to free yourself emotionally, which will enable you to feel better, to be more free, and to enjoy life more. Once you begin this path, you may find that the gratification of finding acceptance for parts of yourself that were formerly suppressed is gradually and steadily replacing your need for your habits. Many people have thought that right use of will is too difficult to do or means giving up habits in a spirit of sacrifice or self-denial. However, whatever you can do towards freeing your will is not as difficult as living in a body that has to hold the blockage, resistance, denial, and rigidity of an imprisoned will. This loss of vibration can produce intense symptoms in the body, which draws attention to these held places. Even though many have been intimidated by their symptoms and have felt they must take medicine to suppress them, this is also an opportunity to deeply connect to body. Feelings of being unable to receive body's messages or understand them adequately enough to balance the body are the result of a long-standing gap between spirit, will, and body. This gap will resolve with practice, and the feelings of fear will dissolve as success gives confidence to the process. If, at present, the fear is overpowering the ability to receive body's messages and respond to them, reassurance can be sought from others. However, reassurance only helps if you also seek your own feelings here rather than abdicate to another's reality. Feelings of confidence and fear both need acceptance. They need to be allowed to bring understandings through the process they generate. Fear could be hidden in habitual dependency upon your helpers. The origin of the fear needs exploration and understanding. Do not judge in advance what the fear is. Feel the fear and let it give you the understandings. Release of any block improves clarity. Clarity improves communication. When you really listen to yourself, you can heal yourself. Then you can seek help in the spirit of confidence, knowing you need and want the help you request, rather than being dependent and confused because you don't know yourself. The undermining of free will on earth has been accompanied by another habit, the habit of looking outside the self for the answers. This habit has another aspect to it, that of denying your own will in favor of someone else's idea of what is best for you. This imbalance has opened the way for rules and generalized procedure because no one really knows what each and every moment calls for in someone else. This lack of attunement is a direct result of denying the will its right place. Freeing of the will to do what it is meant to do is going to return to each person the sensitive and appropriate attunement to the self in everything the self does. No amount of refining or improving standardized procedures, applied programs, rules, regulations, or, for that matter, manners is ever going to come close to the individualized fine-tuning that free will has to offer. Your will is meant to guide you in this so that what is appropriate to any given situation is what you feel like doing and also do. When the will has been suppressed, it cannot give clear guidance. It has become clouded by what it has had to hold. Habits are substitutions in the place of attunement and attempts to compensate for the loss of attunement because of past denials. Will and body may not, at first, trust the spirit to be responsive and may not fully trust for quite some time. Since so many messages have been ignored in the past, some time and experience may be needed for will and body to believe that this pattern is really changing. If this is the case, it doesn't need to mean that you should give up. You can accept your feelings of wanting to give up and also continue on this path. Learning through experience gives the best understanding. At present, almost all individuals are holding conditions on this. Conditions limit growth in that they are judgments that can color perceptions of experience. Free will allows the evolution that can learn from experience, while the rigidity of judgments and habits creates repetitive experiences. A person's experience is his or her own individually unique experience and may or may not be the same as anyone else's. Learning from your own experience allows each of you to evolve in your own way. Learning in this way doesn't preclude the acceptance of advice or the sharing of observations and insights, and it allows everyone to be free. Your will needs to be allowed to recover and evolve with the rest of your being in order for you to experience and express the full gift of your spiritual presence on earth. The balance of spirit and will in the heart can be attained and can produce the health in the body that is the starting point for evolving in harmony with your outer reality. When there is balance, harmony and joy accompanying the way of evolving, physical existence can be as enjoyable as any other plane of existence and can evolve to include all possibilities. You are then able to do what you want to do when you want to be doing it, and for no other reason than that is what you truly feel like doing. In the process of balancing, allow yourself to notice whatever attracts you. The spirit can see all possibilities. The will is meant to select what is right for the moment among the possibilities. The will does this through its feelings. Unconditional acceptance of feelings, including receiving input from body, then allows the maximum learning, evolvement, and attunement. Everything that is experienced can be accepted as a part of the process you need in order to find this balance. As your spirit and will come into alignment, this increasing balance will allow you to see how predestination and free will are not in conflict with one another, because all people are destined to find the balance of free will. This is still a matter of personal choice, however. No one can make you free your will, and yet you cannot force your will to be a prisoner indefinitely either. If freeing your own will feels like the path for you now, you are ready to do it.